Welcome and thank you for joining us today. I'm Raj Dutt, Vice President and Head of Marketing at Cohesity, and I have two very special guests with me from our long-standing strategic partners, Nutanix and Cisco. In this session, we will discuss how enterprises globally are accelerating delivery of their application and services, simplifying management, security, resilience of their data in a hyper distributed environment, and improving business outcomes using AI, hyperconverged infrastructure, data security and management. And to have that discussion, I'm very pleased to welcome Jeremy Foster, Senior Vice President and General Manager of Cisco Compute. For decades, Jeremy has led product, engineering, and sales across data center infrastructure and data solution space, and is best known for meeting aggressive growth targets by developing successful strategy or portfolio strategy built on products his customers love. Welcome, Jeremy. Great to have you.
Oh, it's great to be here, Raj, and great to see you and Thomas, and always excited to talk about the partnership between the three companies.
Looking for the discussion. And I'm also excited to welcome Thomas Cornely, Senior Vice President of Product Management at Nutanix, where he's responsible for leading company's product portfolio strategy. Thomas brings 2 decades of experience in product and engineering leadership across enterprise infrastructure storage, software, cloud, and data management. Thomas, very welcome.
Thank you, Raj. It's great to be here. And again, always fun to be with you and Jeremy.
All right.
And I can vouch for the for Thomas's references there in the write up. When he is really good at what he does. You didn't just make it up, Raj.
I have seen him in action, so I'm again excited to have both of you to kick off the discussion. And as we look at the industry, obviously we have seen multiple trends over the course of time. But if we look at one specific trend on the location of data and go back a couple of decades, we saw a significant shift. Early 2000s, with the whole emergence of cloud, enterprises were migrating their workloads to the cloud, their data, their applications. Then we fast forward to early to 2020s, we saw that migration accelerate as businesses were trying to adapt and address the growing need for a distributed workforce. They're serving the applications online or supporting the applications that are running online. And at the same time, while this data was becoming more and more distributed, we also saw an undercurrent where cyber criminals were coming after that data in form of data encryption, data exfiltration. So, Thomas, let me come to you. We're talking about trends. In your view, what trends do you foresee next, and what are the drivers behind them?
I mean, from our perspective at Nutanix, the underlying thing going on here is there's change, but really all of this is breeding complexity, right? And you kind of go back to the very early days of data centers running, 3-tier architecture with, compute on one side, storage on the other, networking, security, all fragmented. Then you start adding, hey, I need to go do edge. Then, as you mentioned, we were in the late, 2018, 2019, 2020, that COVID period of everybody just rushing to the cloud first, and cloud first became a mantra. And it basically bred more complexity and more silos, right? So what you really have is just a lot of things going on, massive amount of new applications, and we see that now with modern frameworks with Kubernetes, right, driving just a massive amount of new applications. I think we're talking of 750 million new applications by 2026. Mind you, that's like 2 years from, not even 2 years from now, right? So this is just crazy amounts of things happening everywhere. And for the operators, the IT teams, the people in charge are making sure things are running properly, that they're running on time, that they are resilient, that they can deal with new skill requirements or new failure scenarios, and that you have to keep all of this secure. It just gets very, very complicated, right? And complexity means risk, means cost, right? And so this is really what we see currently as being a big track. And now you add on top of this, AI to just accelerate all of this, both on the good side and on the bad side in terms of taking advantage of vulnerabilities. So this is a very complex environment that we have, but at its core, fragmentation, complexity, all of that risk and cost.
Got it. Jeremy, how about you? What are you seeing from your vantage point?
I mean, I think you used the word location. I actually really like that. That's kind of how I like to think about cloud as well. In that, to Thomas's point, we saw a lot of people, hey, we got to go do cloud. And what you're seeing now is a lot of organizations coming back, and it's about optimization. Like, this is what we do in IT. We do one thing, sometimes there's a trend, we go after it, and then we optimize. So cloud's great for a lot of applications and use cases, but so is on-prem. And as customers are bringing things back on-prem, as Thomas said, I think also accelerated by AI, it all starts with data. So there's a lot of correlations in my mind around what happened when we went towards cloud versus what's happening when we're going towards AI as a trend. And then I think the location piece is important because it's all about mobility of applications, whether those are traditional virtual machines or whether that's obviously more modern application frameworks. And so that's where things like what Nutanix is building that can run on our infrastructure and partner up with you all is so great, because we have a solution that can help that portability, mobility of those workloads, regardless of where people want to run them.
Yeah, it's no more a fence that is around the data. Data is all over the place. It's wherever the business need is. That's what the data is. It is how do you bring it together and keep it together for users to take advantage of it. In
Yeah, and how
fact,
do you secure it, right? It's a lot harder
exactly.
to do across 5 different places than it is across one. So
Yeah. So, Jeremy, you touched on it. Let me double click and get to a question here on the growth of HCI. I was looking at a report from Fortune Business Insight, and they predict in this current decade the hyperconverged infrastructure market will grow 5x, fivefold. That is a significant growth, and it's powered by the things Jeremy was just talking about: growth of data. Businesses, they're putting their applications where it makes most sense. Some in the cloud, some on prem. It's a distributed environment. So, Thomas, from let me start with you here. What business challenges are causing this massive growth of
Yeah,
HCI?
I mean, HCI is something that's been around for a long time. At Nutanix, we helped create this market. We've been leading it now for a number of years. But really, fundamentally, when we look at HCI, it's a means to an end, in our view. And what it enables is just dramatically simplifying running, protecting infrastructure. Okay. And at its core, you're talking of things are now going to on-premises at the edge in public cloud, right? And we had this question of how do I go and protect not only my applications, but the data supporting those applications. One of the key tenets of HCI was align operations not just to the data or to the workload, but both of them together. You create a VM and its storage. You protect a VM and its storage. You move a VM and its storage. And this is just a default way of doing things in an HCI environment. So the way we look at this at Nutanix is HCI is really a means to an end. Where we are now is more about server-based infrastructure, which really becomes a common substrate for things that will be running anywhere, whether it's going to be on premises, at the edge, or in public clouds. Because at the end of the day, we all know public cloud infrastructure is based on servers. Okay, so if you can start adopting those principles, adopting that cloud operating model that we talk about, leveraging software to drive automation, make you more efficient. And once you have this automation in your core infrastructure, you reduce risk. Okay, you basically are able now to go and actually ensure that everything is running optimally based on what your software is doing for you, and you can focus on protecting and deploying new applications and supporting your business. So that's really for us is kind of the key thing, the key benefit of that server-based, that hyperconverged infrastructure approach.
Yeah, great point here, Jeremy. How about you? What are you seeing when you're talking to your customers? What's driving them and this growth that we are also experiencing?
I think when you look at customers, you have a lot of traditional ways that they've managed their data center and their architectures, whether that's 3-tier, and a lot of the growth in HCI, kind of back to your question around where is this massive 5x growth coming from, is as they set out to deliver new applications, new things, HCI is a great fit, so then they adopt HCI. I think the other big trend that's worth noting is edge and where the compute is happening. I mean, I think it was Gartner's, something I was reading the other day, it's like 50% of all the critical enterprise applications will reside outside of a centralized data center by like 2027. Like, well, why is that? Well, I mean, obviously edge is going to explode no matter which analyst you look at. They say that's going to be the fastest growing area of computing infrastructure over the next 3-4 years. And so HCI itself is a fantastic fit for things like edge. It's a great fit for other things too, but it's perfect fit for those smaller chunks of infrastructure, particularly when you have to worry about not only deploying the compute network and storage together, but making it easy to operate at scale at the edge, and then also secure and back up, whether you're doing that locally or you're doing that over in the cloud. So I think that's going to help drive those HCI numbers that you see.
So agility, simplicity, keeping where the data is, those are for the most part what I heard from both of you, are the driving factors of the growth that we're seeing. Doesn't matter where the data is; it's a server-based architecture, and you put your application where it makes most sense. And HCI is at the core and at the edge. So let me switch gears here and talk about the partnership. Very exciting partnership that Cisco and Nutanix you have. And Jeremy, let me start with you here. So as you were talking to your customers, tell us some of the feedback that you were getting. And Thomas, I'll come to you in a minute here. The same question. What feedback you were getting from your customers that led to the partnership between the two of you?
Yeah, I think you'd say the same thing about Cohesity and Nutanix, which is there's a tremendous amount of demand coming from the market around these solutions and wanting to have Cisco and our underlying infrastructure be a part of that. And when I look at how we build UCS solutions, like we're not building servers. Building a server is relatively easy. Raj, you and I could go get a garage, call a few folks, and we could have a server called the Raj Jeremy server pretty quick. It's about building solutions. It's about bringing it together and doing the testing. You know, Thomas can vouch for this, the amount of work that went into the partnership and the amount of testing, and frankly, things that we found that didn't know we were going to find, right? It all hardens all these types of solutions for all of our enterprise customers. And we saw that as a big opportunity because we have a very rigid process around how we develop our validated designs, how we can work with a partner like Nutanix and Cohesity. And more importantly, there's no overlap when you look at how our companies operate and what we do. Like, we aren't going to go build these types of software solutions. And so being able to partner with you all is very, very important. But more importantly than that is, how do we integrate with what we're doing from a software management perspective with what you're doing and give the best customer experience possible? Like, my goal for our team is to make sure we're building the best management platform we can for that underlying infrastructure that can give them visibility into both compute, network, and storage in a unique way, and manage that hardware throughout the full 360-degree life cycle of the equipment, and that we are really building out the best partnerships as well with the other folks in the industry that are going to make things easier for them from an operational perspective. And those are two big things that we're always focused on.
Yeah, you in fact touched on 360 solutions. So Thomas, from your thoughts, also if you can touch on the 360 solution that was announced last year.
I mean, to me, I think it's just the fact that the three of us are here, right, on this webinar is just a testament to what's possible once you think software, server-based, and then, Jeremy and his team, right, in terms of on just building servers, as Jeremy was saying, it's like, no, that's not the point. The point is actually to build this infrastructure with a tremendous amount of automation, right? I mean, Intersight has been leading the market for a long time, right? Just changing the way people think about managing those scale out service infrastructure, right? Driving automation, driving simplification, enabling more security in the systems. And so for us, as we kind of looked at the partnership with Jeremy and his team, it was, how do we go and not just get Nutanix running on UCS? Because we could have done that anytime. It's how do we go actually go and do a 1 + 1 = 3 in terms of, you have Intersight as a cloud delivered control plane that can drive a tremendous amount of automation into the infrastructure itself on the hardware level. Cisco has a tremendous portfolio of solutions on security around networking, obviously. We have our stack, which does storage, does compute. We have our own automation to enable self-service. But how do we go and basically blend the two to now have, the best-in-class automation, full stack, hardware included, the best-in-class security coverage, full stack, hardware, networking, workload included. And so this is really what the teams have been kind of just took at the vision of what we could do together. But again, the partnership was all about these different core IPs that really, honestly, are just super complementary. Right?
Yeah, and Thomas,
we could do something very unique in the market here.
You're 100% right. And even when you're sitting back a year ago now, we're thinking about it, right? I've been working on this for a couple of years now. I've been in market for 11, 12 months. But the alignment of where we were both going, I mean, Intersight's delivering SaaS-based cloud management, which makes it really easy to do things across one data center, 5 data centers, or 500 edge locations. And with you all moving towards Prism Central, it's the perfect opportunity for us to bring those two things together. Because as you very well said, when we can handle what we need to do over here on the infrastructure and making sure that everything's up to date and secure, and you can do the same thing, from your level up. So it's been a really good partnership and something that customers have been responding to. I think it's just going to get a lot better and a lot tighter as we keep moving forward.
Yeah. So actually, that's a good segue. So we're talking about partnership. Jeremy, you talked about the three-way partnership that we have. We see the world from Cohesity point of view, that the joint solution delivers a full hyperconverged environment for primary and secondary data that is secure, bringing data together to derive insights from it. And one of the pieces that we talked about early on in the trend is the concern around security. Organizations driving to improve their cyber resilience. So, Jeremy, from your discussions with customers and the joint solution that we have as a three-way solution, what advantages do you see customers are getting when they deploy a HCI solution on the security front, staying one step ahead of the cyber criminals because they're not going anywhere? So, what are your thoughts? What are you witnessing as you talk to your customers?
Probably give you a couple different altitudes on that. If you think about what it's like when you're triaging and working with a customer in a moment of, hey, what's going on? What's the problem? Is it compute? Is it network? Is it storage? And then, of course, however many hours or hopefully not days later, you figure out that it was something maybe you didn't even know what it was that caused that operationally, right? That's because there's a lot of complexity in how you traditionally deploy an environment. So moving to HCI, whether that's on the primary or the secondary side, eliminates a lot of those steps. It eliminates the need to look in a lot of those places so you can troubleshoot faster. And then you start thinking about security and what happens in one of those, oh shoot moments. I've now been, hit with ransomware or something. How quickly can you respond? And so when you look at what we've built with Cohesity and some of those integrations, it's about recovering fast, right? And we can look at joint customers who unfortunately have been hit and attacked by ransomware, and we've been able to help them not pay the ransom and recover very quickly and get their business operations back up and running in a matter of hours instead of a matter of days or for millions and millions of dollars. And so adding those three things together and being able to make things simple so that we can actually more or less automate these processes is I think the value that customers are seeing in looking at HCI from both a primary and a secondary perspective.
Yeah, and great point, especially around our integration with XDR, where there is a two-way communication happening, and if something was to happen, there is the response time is much shorter, which then leads to a faster recovery. And Thomas, from your discussions with your customers, as they look at the three-way partnership we have, they look at the importance of having a solution that can help recover quickly, and the need to have HCI. What values are you seeing from customers take advantage of from this joint solution?
I mean, to me, it kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier, which is if you got server-based infrastructure, then it's up to your software to go and make it do what you need, right? So being able to go and use software on the primary side, use your software edge on the secondary side. And then the work we've been doing as two companies, right, Nutanix and Cohesity, for a very long time now, you helping protect not just the data, but also embrace AHV, the Nutanix hypervisor that is now a core part of our solutions, right? Embrace the complementary data services that we have, right? Because yes, we do data for VMs. We have file solutions, we have object solutions, we have database automation solutions, all of those covered by the Cohesity appliances. And so in the end, one common infrastructure, simple to go and manage on the hardware side, software solutions that deeply complement all this, and you can make sure that you got all your apps running on one environment, all your data protected from one core solutions, and that allows you to go and do a lot more things now with that data in your Cohesity systems in terms of protecting it, securing it, getting value out of it, and just getting to know more what's really lying into that enterprise information that you've got in the systems.
Yeah, we see customers protecting their Nutanix estate on Cohesity, and then the integration with Cisco for early detection and early response. So, and at the same time, the total environment is much smaller footprint, less attack points. So the attack footprint is much smaller, and point of entries are very limited. So let's switch gears because there won't be a discussion complete if we don't talk about AI.
I think we should
AI,
actually probably get some type of credit for making it this far without taking the AI question. I think we're like 15 or 20 minutes in. So that in and of itself is pretty impressive.
Absolutely. I'm very proud. I'm very proud of us, Jeremy, right now. Super proud.
yeah. So
But then Raj has to go and mess it up.
Right.
yeah, AI is here. We all are using in our daily lives, and it is dramatically changing how things happen. So let's talk about that piece because I know there is some exciting solution from Cisco and Nutanix that is helping customers accelerate. So my question is, AI is here to stay. Gen AI, a lot of investments are happening. In fact, Cohesity was the first one in our space to announce a RAG Gen AI based data insight solution called Cohesity Gaia. And from your discussions, what's how is HCI? How is the integration that Cisco and Nutanix you have is helping customers accelerate the innovation when it comes to AI? So, Jeremy, let me start with you on that.
I mean, I think much like with you all with Gaia and what we're all working on together with GPT in a box, it's all about product market fit, right? So AI is still very early in the enterprise. Like to put it in some context, yes, the world changed a couple years ago, and it's absolutely here to stay. And as much as we joke about it, I think our lives will be dramatically different 3, 4, 5 years from now than what they are even today, because we're kind of in this point of the hype cycle, and then we'll get to that point where we actually start seeing the foundational things shift on our day-to-day lives. But the point of where I'm going with it is in the enterprise, it's still very early. So like, what's the lead time on a GPU, Raj? I mean, 6 or 9 months. And when you look back a couple of years when this kind of thing all kicked off, that's cutting that time frame down in half. So, I mean, how many cycles and turns has an enterprise actually had to go through improving their processes for their customers and delivering value with AI? It's still very early. And so anything we can do together to simplify that, much like the approach towards HCI, is really important for the enterprise, because there's 3 big things you can do with AI, which is build models, optimize models, and run models. And you hear about all the money that's being spent. There's a lot of money being spent on building models. And for some enterprises, many enterprises, frankly, that's not going to be a big value for them because it's not core to their business to build a model. They want to go grab a model off the shelf. They want to optimize it a little bit. And of course, they want to run it because that's how they're going to deliver value back to their customers, is whatever that application is doing to help them have a better business process. And when you look at GPT in a box, it's a simple way to say, much like Gaia's is, how do I get you to be able to have the ability to process your data in a way that's simple, that almost anybody in your organization should be able to understand and use, so that you can then have some type of an output that you want when you're developing an application without going through 6 or 9 months of figuring out how to do all the various steps before that. And I think that's a lot of the trend and kind of the focus in the enterprise space is going to absolutely explode over the next few years. And while it may only end up representing 35% of the spend in the market, it's going to be the big growth area that we're dealing with, is kind of that proliferation of AI across a lot of accounts, instead of this vertical concentration of a lot of money being spent in a large number or small number of hyperscalers.
Thomas, anything from your side? Anything you want to add to the?
Yeah, no, I mean, we obviously, and again, with Cisco, right, we have a lot of things going on around AI. When we kind of saw the wave start for us, what we saw was, of course, this massive enthusiasm around, generative AI, right? And the ChatGPT kind of just unleashing this whole momentum. But really quickly, what we realized was the flow that it was following, in many ways, was kind of like what we had seen, a few years back with cloud. Customers went, hey, I'm going to go cloud first. I'm going to do all kinds of things. And then discovered, I need to worry about cost, optimizations, fragmentation, complexity. Where's my data? Compliance, security. So cloud was everybody's jumping in, and then, as Jeremy was saying earlier, now you go optimize. Having gone through that wave with AI, when we look at enterprise customers, they're asking those questions up front. Yes, we'll do things in the cloud, we'll experiment over there. As we all know, training happens in the cloud because there's a need for massive amount of resources to do training. But once it comes to actually running applications using AI and models, we see customers very proactively ask the question, what's going on with my data? How do I keep it secure? Can I do this behind my firewall? I want to control this. And so this is what the whole idea of enabling and delivering a platform that could deliver this in a simple fashion came about, right? And what we basically have in the market as GPT in a box, right? So it's a software solution that allows customers to leverage an HCI cluster with the most modern hardware you can find with GPUs and those new architectures that are now being innovation driven around AI. Get the software stack, get the Kubernetes platform built in, and then provide the automation to go load a model, configure an inference endpoint, protect it, secure it, and then bring in your application. But the whole idea is like, look, in the end, models and inference endpoints and RAG infrastructure, for us, we build a new set of platform services that you require to run an application. And you will require them as an enterprise on premises and at the edge. And so that's the mission that we sign up to go and actually address. And again, we've got great work, fantastic momentum with GPT in a box over the past 18 months. We've got lots of innovation we announced at our Next conference a couple of months ago in May in Barcelona. And we'll have more announcements before the end of the year, right? So AI right now is this is the very beginning, as Jeremy was saying, but we see this as just being a seminal point for a brand new thinking of what does it mean to provide an infrastructure for your applications for the next, not 2 years, 5, 10 years.
Yeah, very well said. Really good points. It's about where the data is, keeping it secure, keeping behind the firewall, making sure the relevant data is being fed to the models, and keeping the applications where the users are actually using it, and deriving insights from that data. So really good points.
And the other thing I would maybe throw in there, just to add a little bit, is cost. Right? I mean, I think we're seeing some of that optimization, which is somewhat of a reaction to costs that people are taking. When you look at AI, one of the things we know is that computers think pretty quickly. And if a person can generate data in a certain amount of time, a computer, once you start optimizing it and building these processes, is going to generate more data than a person would be sitting there. So it's reasonable to think that the cost of running AI applications, when you actually have that through your pipeline of development and you're actually generating things from your end user perspective back to that business, is not going to be an inexpensive proposition, which is another reason I think, in addition to the data gravity itself, in addition to the IP itself, that you're seeing this sort of, as Thomas was describing, this approach for people wanting to run the applications and optimize those models inside their own data center. I don't think that will change.
Yeah, no, this is really good, really insightful information that both of you shared. So I know we are up on time here, and before we end our discussion, Jeremy, Thomas, what are the key takeaways, thoughts do you want to leave our IT leaders in the audience as they look at planning for the coming year?
I mean, I think as you're planning for the coming year, it's about looking at the processes that you have across cloud, how you're going to adopt AI, what can you do with hyperconvergence, but most of all, like how can you optimize cost and keep things simple? Because as we've seen over the last 10 years, these innovation cycles, these just keep compressing. So while we're all very, very focused on AI for probably the next few years, it's very likely something else will hit us that we don't have pure visibility into right now. And how do we stay ahead of that? And one way to do that is to stay agile and to keep things simple and be focused on operational capabilities for your organization, so you can bend over to the next thing, move into the next idea, and
yeah, the operational agility focus there, because something else is coming your way that you don't know. Thomas, how about from your side? What IT audiences should prioritize?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, and building on what Jeremy's point, if you look at where we are right now, right, it's just in a tremendous amount of disruption, right? We've been talking of cloud and cloud, becoming more of a hybrid multi-cloud discussion, right? As we know, there's competitive changes going on in our ecosystem with big acquisitions, very disruptive acquisitions going on, forcing customers to kind of reevaluate what they were using and have been using to run and support infrastructure for the last 20 plus years, right? And then you throw on top of this, modern applications, Kubernetes, AI, new security risks from all sides, data everywhere and data volumes just getting just crazy. So if right now change is the default, it's always been the default, but there's great solutions out there to allow you to go and actually manage that change, keep things simple, keep operations simple, increase uptime, manage security. And so all I would say is, as you're looking at dealing with the change for the better, there's fantastic solutions out there. The three of us are delivering solutions out there that basically tackle all of these challenges, give you a great foundation, and do it in a way that's cost effective, allows you to go and run more efficiently, keep things as simple as possible, and run more securely. And so change for the better.
Change for the better. Make investments that are future ready, keep you secure, and are agile enough that you can continue to evolve as things evolve. So, Jeremy, Thomas, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to both of you. And we hope that our audience has got some good takeaways, some good insights from it. To learn more about how Cohesity works with Cisco and Nutanix, and how do we together keep our customers secure, give them agility, and get them ready to be future ready, or future use their investment, visit our website. And again, thank you for joining today's session.
Thanks for
Thank you,
having
Raj.
us.
Appreciate you having us.